Hello, hello, hello. I got a camera shoved all the way up into my sinuses just for the doctor to tell me that I need no surgery. Grace.
Maserati? Bugatti? Hot body? Sari.
I love it, I love it, I love it. Welcome to episode 6?
Yes.
Episode 6 of CatF1sh. We're doing kind of like a recent recap kind of episode where we're just gonna talk about and discuss all the things that have happened recently within F1, including but not limited to the virtual Grand Prix. Cars are starting to be revealed, the engine freeze, so on and so forth.
Weekend update kind of thing of what's happened.
Right.
Knowing our luck, though, it's gonna hit Sunday and we're gonna upload this and we're gonna have missed like something major across the weekend. So that's fine. It's fine.
Such is life. I can't be bothered. I can't. With something like Formula One, that there's just so many people involved and there's constantly so much happening. It you can never be 100% on top of it because there's just so much all the time.
Exactly. But we will start off with just doing a quick rundown of the virtual GP. I watched all 3 races because I'm lonely. But if you did watch them, they took place in Austria, Silverstone, and Sao Paulo. And all the teams were racing for money for their chosen charity. Everybody, which I thought this was great, everybody got money in the end. But obviously, the higher you place, the more money you got for your chosen charity. And I thought, what did you catch from the virtual Grand Prix that you liked, Grace? Or did you not really?
I only watched one.
Were they not up your alley?
I only watched one. I watched Sao Paulo on Valentine's Day. It was my first time ever seeing a virtual Grand Prix. When the 2020 season got postponed, I didn't watch any of the virtual Grand Prix because I was an essential worker on a farm, so I was a little too busy to kind of do stuff. But it was my first time ever watching one, and I watched it via George Russell's stream with a friend from the Twitter sphere. We watched it together online, and I thought it was really fun. And I was very excited to learn that it was a charity-based thing. That got me super excited. Because it's charity. It's hard to be angry about something that's for charity.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I liked about it was that it gave me an opportunity to see some drivers who are involved in Formula One who aren't Formula One drivers, like the Fittipaldi brothers. And
yep.
Unfortunately, Alex Albon is moving into this role of people that I don't observe or see in the paddock very much or on track, and getting to see them in this kind of setting was really fun, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is not my first rodeo with the virtual Grand Prix. I watched, I want to say all of them from lockdown.
Wow.
That was towards the end of my spring semester.
Right.
So I was still doing work or homework and everything. But I kind of really enjoyed the setup of this. I enjoyed that they integrated the esports drivers with the Formula One drivers. Because I think the problem last time that they had is that there were 2 separate races. So the esports race that was in the virtual Grand Prix was separate and on its own thing, and held an hour before the the fun F1 drivers or influencers Grand Prix that they had. So there was kind of I think why they did it is because they saw that they had less viewers with the esports drivers than with the kind of hotshot big names.
Right.
So combining the two together, I thought it was great because you already have people sucked in to watch the main race. But then we actually do like get to see, and maybe someone who wouldn't have clicked on the esports race gets to see those drivers and all the skill that they have really put it to the test, like show off what they got, what they can do. And I thought that was really great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think going back to what you said about the charity aspect of it, I think that really helped mellow out everybody because, oh god, the first couple of races during lockdown with the virtual Grand Prix were so chaotic. And like even like this time around, I guess it was pretty chaotic because of how many fucking penalties people got. Learn how to drive. Anyways. But yeah, I thought it was great fun, and the charity aspect I think made people more serious and more competitive. I think it's always great to mix a whole bunch of people from different backgrounds who all love Formula One into a competition together. I think that was really great.
Right. Yeah, no, I liked it. And I think, I mean, I can't promise that I'm going to get like super involved into esports, but it definitely like did its job in like piquing my interest.
Exactly. I think last time I was one of those people who didn't really watch the esports race just because it was not necessarily that it wasn't as fun. I just wasn't as invested in any of the names.
Right.
But this time around, I've seen a couple of guys, and I was like, oh, I think they're really cool. Followed them on social media and kind of have started to watch their content, which I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I think could be improved is I thought like having a 5-lap like. I don't know, I guess they like a sprint race is what they called it. A 5-lap like qualifying sprint race for the main race. I felt like was kind of cheap. Just because you can only do so much in 5 laps.
Right.
And if you get fucked over within lap 1, you're not going to have time really to make it up, which, you know, that's the point of a sprint race, kind of. But it didn't really give, while it gave like a spotlight to the esports driver, I still think there could have been more.
Right.
So.
Right.
That was like my only issue with it.
I agree with that.
But other than that, I think we got some pretty fun moments, iconic moments. The Fittipaldi puppy is my favorite.
Gosh.
My favorite moment of that is Natalie going, can we see the puppy again? And the camera pans the puppy as the puppy is just chewing on a cord. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's a good thing we checked on the dog.
The whole puppy. I was like, oh my god.
He's so cute. And I just think the Fittipaldi brothers are, God, they were the stars of the show. I felt like they were so good.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I follow Enzo on TikTok. And he's like surprisingly active on TikTok. It's I say it's like sweet, but we're the same age. But I don't know, it's fun. I've come to enjoy his character and his kind of the personality he kind of puts out and presents. I've come to enjoy it. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Switching though to personalities I don't like. Rich Energy's back?
Fucking hate these bitches. Actually, I hate one bitch in specific. And I won't call him a bitch because I don't fucking like it.
We were on FaceTime and I said this to you. I was like, I just don't understand how. Because it went so bad with Haas. How? Who said yes? Who did it?
Literally. Who the fuck said yes? And I really hope it's just one big scam. And we can all go to bed and sleep at night peacefully. But I think I asked this question on Twitter and someone was like, well, money's sake, if they're giving out money, then obviously I'm like, okay, but they
didn't give out
we
money
saw how well
last
that
time.
worked last time. Like,
they didn't have money.
Money,
Like,
okay.
I know.
That's a good joke.
So funny. I know I said this to you, and I don't want to like be out here armchair diagnosing this man, but Story is a total like egomaniac narcissist. You like the vibes come up.
He's a major narcissist who knows he's a narcissist and pushes it as much as he can to get what he wants.
Like that video he posted where I didn't even watch it because I was like, I'm not wasting 2 minutes of my life on this man.
I'm wasting 2 minutes on him. Absolutely not.
From the little bits and like snippets, like second-long snippets I saw, I was like, this man is not saying anything of consequence. It's amazing how every time he opens his mouth, no matter how much he says, so little of it is worth anything. Like
it's hot air from him, and that's it. But if I had to see his dumb face in the paddock in any of those shots, I just want to know how Haas thinks of all of this after they've been screwed over. Like, they're probably going to figure out which team it is, and they're going to look at them and be like, have fun.
Really?
How dumb can you be?
I know we're all a little desperate, but damn. Well, and like, obviously it's easy to say like, well, he's annoying, and well, to make these kind of like, I mean, I call them like cheap shots because it doesn't take a lot of energy for me to just be like, this man is annoying, and
he doesn't deserve the energy, but it's important to explain why he's a bad person, why his company is not trustworthy.
It's not just that he has like an unsavory personality and like runs a shady business. It's that he literally has been a vocal and avid supporter of Mazepin. He referred to masks as slave muzzles. I kid you not, slave muzzles. He's like, he thinks COVID is a hoax. And I just like, shady business aside, what? Why is Formula One letting this man get within a 10-foot radius of them? I mean, they have this like whole...
From the sport. Like...
Wait, I couldn't hear what you said at first.
I said, why is he not banned?
Oh, yeah. Like, they apparently care so much about promoting diversity and equality and change. Allowing people like William Story to have a place in the sport is not congruent with these supposed goals.
Yeah. It's one running theme with Formula One that really irks me is that they're like, oh, we want to work towards diversity, we want to work towards inclusion, and this and that and the other thing, and yet they still make decisions that work directly against that thought process, that mindset, that push. And I'm like, do you get how dumb you look? Like, I love you guys. Some days you bring me so much fucking joy, I cry. But when you do shit, it really takes me back a couple of steps.
I know I've said this before, but I'm getting so tired of hearing about how much they care and how committed they are to change and all of this shit and never seeing anything to back it up. Words are important, but what is more important is action. I'm like, stop telling me, show me.
Exactly.
Like,
we spend enough time on Bad Santa.
Santa.
Moving on, we're going to talk about the engine freeze, because this was one thing that I myself was completely confused on.
Oh my gosh.
And even after having conversations with people on Twitter, I was like, I need to just do research for myself on them. And so that's what I did. So I'll just give a quick rundown of my understandings of what it is, what's going on.
Perfect.
So originally, there was already going to be an engine freeze starting in 2023, and it would expand 3 years. I don't know if people understood this or still now understand this, but I think it was something important to note that this was already set. Like, this was already a plan that was set in motion. But the announcement that it was being brought ahead to begin in 2022 was a decision pushed by Red Bull specifically because, and we saw this kind of last year pushing towards 2021, that Red Bull were looking for an engine freeze. Of course, that didn't happen for this coming year, but it was a unanimous decision. So everybody agreed upon it. Teams, engine manufacturers, this, that, the other thing. They all agreed for it to be put in place a year early.
Mm-hmm.
And this benefits Red Bull because, as we know, Honda will no longer be their engine supplier.
Right.
And Red Bull's issue is that they didn't really have any options for a new engine supplier. So their idea was to kind of take over making the engine, and this is something that they've been discussing with Honda for a while now. After they announced they would no longer continue after 2021. But the issue is that they would basically be 1 year behind in development compared to all the other teams, because they would just be like getting off the board in building an engine. Like, they have no idea how to build an engine, and they're relying on Honda to help them, but they wouldn't be able to develop it the same way that Mercedes would be able to develop their engines, or Renault would be able to develop their engines. So by bringing the freeze forward a year, it allows Red Bull to still compete at the same level as others. It doesn't give them a handicap.
Right.
And what this means for the 3-year deal is that it gets pushed forward one year. So instead of 2026 being the new engine regulations, they're going to start at the end of. I'm really bad at counting.
Okay.
The new engine regulations will come in 2025.
Right.
So that was a little maybe long-winded than it needed to be, but basically, if you want the quick rundown, Red Bull needed this deal in order to survive, or they would be stuck behind everybody else.
Well, and
lose development.
I think part of why it's gone through, and I will slap a disclaimer on myself now. I am not the number one aficionado on Formula One tech and engineering stuff. I have a pretty baseline understanding of it, but from my understanding, the FIA has been working really hard to close the gap between the teams and to make it more of an even competitive field. And this engine freeze is helping them achieve that because Red Bull is, as of right now, the team that's currently going toe-to-toe with Mercedes the most.
Yeah.
And so if they suffer a handicap, that does not look good.
Yeah. I mean, even if I did some digging on the upcoming regulations for this season, 2021, and if you look over all of them, the majority, if not all of them, are to close those gaps and are made to reduce downforce, kind of give more time to the teams that are lower to develop their aero packages, stuff like that. So you can definitely see that is the biggest push that F1 is going for, is evening out the field.
Well, I mean, it's a sport, and by extension a show. They want to keep the viewers engaged, and I think they understand that one team winning over and over and over and over again, for some people, gets redundant and it gets boring, and so they want to keep us the viewers, the fans, on our toes as much as possible, and bringing the engine freeze forward, I do agree, it kind of was the most logical option with this scenario that's presented with Honda dropping out.
Yeah, and when this news was announced, there was a lot of mixed messages from people. There were a lot of positives that we could see, but also a lot of negatives. Obviously, as I've said, one of the positives, it helps to save Red Bull and AlphaTauri from falling behind and possibly even, God forbid, dropping out of the sport.
Right.
We don't need that. F1 does not want that, nor need that. So it was important for them to be able to still continue on an engine they themselves are now overtaking development on and building on. It also ends up helping save teams money over this period of time, which is important because of everything with COVID going on. And it reduces costs on development, which also helps those lower teams that struggle for money as well.
Right, and Mercedes isn't going to have any qualm with this because they've built one of the greatest engines we've ever seen.
So they definitely benefit from this because it means they get to keep their nice engine.
They're great. But on that same note, Ferrari did not build a good engine.
No, that's one of the worries, is that if Ferrari do not get this 2021 season right and make some significant improvements within the regulations on their engine, they will be suffering for the next couple of years. The Tifosi will cry.
I mean,
but also, Ferrari were previously opposed to this, as well as Alpine. And I think one of the major arguments I've seen from fans is that this is against the spirit and everything. This just goes against Formula One as a whole, because Formula One is known for being super progressive in terms of their development, always with new innovations, pushing barriers, limits, boundaries when it comes to innovation. And so by putting this in place, by enacting this, it kind of goes against that message that has been ingrained within the sport.
Right. Well, and I think because it has been for so long revered and placed on a pedestal as the pinnacle of motorsport, these are the guys going the fastest possible on the sharpest corner, all of this kind of stuff. And I do agree with this idea of that it does somewhat go against this nature of Formula One that is to evolve and to change constantly to get better. I mean, one of my favorite hoodies, my uncle got it for me for Christmas. It's from CatF1sh, but it has all the cars on it, and it's I think it's so cool to look at because you can literally see the cars change so drastically in about 70,
it's literally
70 years.
One lifetime, an average, actually below average lifetime, that those cars have gone from essentially bricks into amazing aerodynamic pieces of engineering. It's incredible.
My brother said once, because I was showing him, I'm a huge history buff, and I was showing him pictures of of some of the first cars, and he was like, they literally look like soapboxes on wheels. I couldn't disagree. I was like, I mean, yeah. And so I get that argument. I really do. I understand it. But I think we kind of have to look at this as a practicality takes importance here, and this is the most practical thing to do.
I also think in the long run, this will be the most beneficial because we're going to see. I feel like if we were just going to go forward without any engine freezes, without any cost caps or anything, we would see a lot of teams struggling and end up dropping out. So I think this saves teams. This saves the future for Formula One. And while it's gonna suck in terms of just a plateaued effect in the next few years, it's gonna be worth the suffering in the.
Well, this is the other thing is like it has an end date. Like this is just.
Yeah, it's not. It's just it's a 3-year wait basically, and it's not forever.
Right.
And I think that sometimes, while 3 years seems like a long time, we'll get to the end and we'll be able to see the new regulations, the new cars, the new engines, all that fun stuff, and it's going to be worth it to be able to go into a new era with still 10 teams.
Right.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Hopefully more.
Fingers crossed. No, I 100% agree. Speaking of new cars, though. McLaren. We're going to talk about it. Okay, so I didn't watch McLaren reveal the MCL35M when it was happening because I was too busy having an emotional crisis over the fact that I genuinely kind of have a crush on Doc Hudson from the Cars franchise. No one asked me about it. It's bad. So I watched it the other night on FaceTime with Sari, and choices were made. I don't even care that the car looks pretty much the same. I figured that was gonna happen because of
Well, they can only change so much.
Right.
Because there was a halt put in. I believe there was like some halting to the updates and everything.
Exactly.
So, teams can only do so much to their cars.
So I was walking in, so it's not gonna be that different.
Yeah. There was a reason why it didn't look as different as we thought it would, though there are like notable differences in it. The floor is more tapered. It's no longer in the past it was slotted. There were slots in it to increase downforce. That's no longer there.
Right.
Obviously the chassis itself had to change shape to account for the new engine from Mercedes.
Right.
And there's some other changes, like air ducts, and the like rear wings in the back are also a little adjusted. They're shortened to reduce downforce as well. There's other little adjustments, but for the most part, these cars are going to look very similar to what they were last season.
I will say
because they can, they have to.
I mean, yeah. I will say though, I do like the way the 35M looks more. I saw like a bird's eye aerial view of it, and I think it looks. Again, I don't know that much about aerodynamics, but from like my visual standpoint, it looks sleeker and it looks more efficient.
I think because the floor just tapers in more instead of being very rectangular, it's more like triangular. It looks sexier.
It looks good.
She's a skinny legend.
She's a sexy car. Touching though, I do want to talk about this a little. The dynamic between the two drivers at McLaren and why people are slapping these kind of bizarre expectations upon them, and how those expectations gave birth to one of the most awkward things I've ever seen, which was them trying to make a song together. And I was, the whole time I was like, the secondhand embarrassment here is palpable.
It hurts. I literally muted that entire portion because I'm like, no.
Yeah, and then I made you listen to it because I'm a good friend.
You did. I hated every second of it. But
kisses.
Yeah, it was horrible. I hated it.
We actually though, sometimes I'm like, I wish we could pop in our FaceTime conversations because we have such good conversations sometimes. But
we do.
We had a really great conversation where we talked about how later on in that music segment, there was this point at the video where Norris was playing a guitar, and is it a bass or was it?
I believe it was a bass.
Yeah. Yes. And so the bassist is like teaching him a couple things, and he's engaged and he's learning, and then all the other musicians kind of started joining in. Like, the guy on the drums started joining in, and then the woman went to the piano, and like, it was this, it felt real, and it felt organic, and that was fun to see. I really enjoyed that, because one, I got to see professional musicians be professional musicians, which is like always cool, and like to see them rock out and do their own thing. And then two, I got to see what I think is a decent example of the way Norris and Ricardo's personalities work. And like, Norris was like, I'm gonna get this right, I'm gonna do this right, and then Ricardo was just going wild with the tambourine in the corner. Like, I think that it captured their dynamic in a way that felt real. It didn't feel forced, and it was nice to watch.
Yeah, I think that was the main issue, and just on the video, I think the rest of the presentation with them was pretty good. But specifically with that video at the beginning, it seemed so forced. It seemed awkward because I don't think either of them wanted to sing lyrics. No. That was like the worst part. Like, it just seems very forced interactions, very unauthentic. But then when we actually got to see them just genuinely, freely interacting with the musicians, playing, learning, doing whatever, it was more genuine, and it felt more comfortable, not only as a viewer, but just like visually, I feel like they looked more comfortable too.
Their body language was much more like, I'm in the recording booth and I want to die, and it was much more like they were clearly having fun. And because here's the thing, because I'm not gonna put the blame on fans. I'm gonna pin most of this blame onto media outlets, because I think they have pushed this whole like meme duo the hardest, which I just like, they're not gonna be BFFs because it goes against this dichotomous relationship that they are gonna be in. And it's one that I'm familiar with. I mentioned this briefly the other day, but I was a competitive dancer for 7 years. And my teammates were that. They were my teammates, but they were also the people I had to beat if I wanted to do well with my solo. We did our team dance together, but when solos came around, we were going head to head against each other. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. It actually taught me a lot about having respect for others, because I did it through like my teenage years. But you can't be like completely chummy BFFs, like pinkies together all the time, OMG, when you have this like, you're gonna be competing against each other.
Yeah. Not only that, they've only been teammates a month.
That's the other thing.
They haven't been together enough to even form a working relationship, because their only interactions together have been within the paddock, or like at like parties together if they've gone to parties. Like, they've never worked together side by side before. So this is completely new for them, and friendships take time. But when you try to push people together, they're naturally going to work against that force. If it's like you see it all the time. It's like, if you try and like push a narrative or push them to be friends, they're not going to want to be friends, because they're going to end up hating each other, because it's going to be so awkward and unnatural. So they just need time to adjust to one another, to get to know one another. And I've seen people be like, I personally have said, like, their personalities that might not mash together well, just because, like, sometimes I feel like similarities do not work well together, and from my perspective, I feel like they have very similar personalities. But others have said, like, oh, well, Daniel's like, he's going to be more serious this season, so he's not going to be as goofy, funny, this and that. And I've seen, like, other things on the internet as well. And I'm like, one, just because Daniel's being more serious doesn't mean he's going to completely get rid of his personality. Like, Daniel is a funny guy because that's who he is. Like, that's not a gimmick or anything. He's still going to be Daniel. He's still going to have fun and make jokes. But yeah, he is going to crack down and be serious. But then the other fact is, like, okay, why are we reading so much into this friendship that we really haven't, like, we know nothing about? And it, like, right now I can't even call it a friendship because they're just co-workers.
Right.
So, as fans, I guess we just have to realize, like, we don't really know these people as much as we think we do. And instead of kind of feeding into the media narrative of this and that and the other thing and trying to, like, psychoanalyze every little look, every little action, every, like every little, like, saying or sentence or tone of voice, I think we just need to be like, okay, let's step back, let's just observe and go from there.
I mean, like, this is what I've been trying to say. I'm like, just let them be. Just let them do their thing. Because if you all start spinning this, like, web of, oh, they don't like each other, oh, there's tension, oh, do, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Because they see the shit we say.
I said it the other episode, I will say it again. The shit you post on the internet is public.
It's not just public. For you.
They will see it. Callum Eilert literally fucking indirectly searches his name, okay? I'm pretty sure he sees everything that's said about him.
Which, I mean, that cracks me up and also has filled me with so much fear. I'm like, I can never tweet his name ever again. But, like...
The coward hasn't liked any of my tweets, so, you know what?
I mean, he still hasn't followed me back on TikTok.
We have beef with Callum Eilert.
I do have beef with Callum Eilert. I now I have beef with Callum Eilert. I have beef with Tom.
Tom,
the snitch. He's a dirty snitch.
Little rat.
That's what he is. He's a rat. For anyone who doesn't know, Max Futrell, who's drove in Formula 3 for Renault. Formula 3. Was it?
Why not? Let's go with it. I think so.
I think it was Formula 3.
It's been a while.
I don't think it was Formula... Because Formula 2 sounds wrong. Anyway, he came out with his clothing line, with this, like, merch line, Futrell Fits, and I bought one of the hoodies, and I love it, and I wear it often. And then a couple days ago, a couple people commented on some of my TikToks. They were like, hey, did you... Because I posted TikToks of me wearing his merch. And a couple people were like, did you know that he's seen your TikToks? And I was like, excuse me? And so I literally went through all of his old Just Chatting streams on FaceTime with Sari, being like, I have to figure out at what point he was talking about TikTok, because my anxiety will not be, like, relieved until I hear it with my own ears. And I got to the section, and he was like, Tom sent me a video of someone... a TikTok of somebody the other day. It had 5K likes and they were wearing my hoodie. And I was like, oh my god, Tom, you dirty snitch. God. And then today I asked him for his TikTok and he wouldn't give it to me. He was like, it's on private, so it doesn't matter. And I was like, it does matter. I need to block you.
So I can block you.
I need to block all of you.
I just realized I love how I, like, made fun of you in, I think, episode 4 about how you were afraid of a driver seeing your TikTok, and then it happened.
One of our friends online, Celeste, said to me one day, she was like, I know in my heart that Lando Norris has seen at least 2 of your TikToks. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna go cry in the shower now. It's not like because why is it? wait, hang on.
We know this out.
It's not because I, like, have some sort of, like, convoluted fantasy that, like, me and ex-driver are meant to be, like, BFFs or something like that. It's just, like...
Some weird POV shit. No.
My TikTok is literally completely unhinged. I posted a video of me the other day trying to make the noise of a V10 engine and ended up sounding like a chihuahua. Like, it's not... I think my thing is I fear that they see it and won't get it, like won't get kind of the sense of humor that I'm targeting, and will just think I'm insane. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm a very, like,
I hope
rational person.
They think I'm insane if they ever see me. Just so they know they can't fuck with me. And if they ever see me in the paddock, they should run and hide.
I mean, I have at least 50 people who are trying to put together a fighting ring for me to bring to the paddock. So.
You're set. You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to beat some people. Anyway. Yeah, that's my beef with Tom. Life's short. Have beef with celebrities.
Tom even a celebrity?
He is now.
Tom, you're on the list. That means we can fuck you up.
You're on my list. My hit list.
Pow pow.
Anyway, that's... That's today's episode.
We derailed a little bit, but I took a nap for 3 hours, so... I'm a little unhinged, but I think today went well. I think we did good. I will say, if anybody wants to kind of put in their 2 cents, if they have more knowledge than me on the engine freeze situation, please feel free to jump into the conversation below in the comments, because likely I have misconstrued some sense of information, or I have missed something, or you just want to pipe in with your own thoughts and feelings. So please feel free to do that, and feel free to do that on any of these topics, like always.
Always, always, always. We want to hear what you have to say. We would love to chat with you. We love doing it. It's very fun.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening, and have so much fun, and we will see you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.